Already never worked. Hey, you Mike. Thank you for being here tonight. I'll call this meeting to order. We'd like to welcome you to the Macon County Board of Commissioners meeting. It's our pleasure to come this way. Glad you're here. And this is a regular monthly meeting for the month of March. Any announcements anybody would have? Any commissioners? Mr. Rowland? Yes, sir. Okay, hearing none. Let's stand. We're going to observe a moment of silence. And then Commissioner Payton's going to lead us to state the allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item number 5 on our agenda is a public hearing. We have none tonight. Comment period. We have Richard Melton, I believe, is here to speak to us. Mr. Melton, welcome. Glad you're here. He's going to speak on tax revaluation.
I wanted to come up and bring up the subject of the tax reevaluation for you all to consider. Everybody is concerned about taxes, and this year we're going to have a big rate on the taxes. I'm sure you know. And there's going to be a lot of heartburn over it. I am one of the few attorneys who occasionally takes appeals before the Board of Equalization and Review. Most don't bother with it because it's difficult to, the old saying, you can't fight City Hall. And all the presumptions are in favor of tax assessment. And secondly, if you go beyond that, to save $200 worth of taxes, you can go to Raleigh for the tax commission. I've had a good experience with it. And a couple of them that I've had reduced over $1 million apiece. It's just a mistake. You've got to give the people a chance to come before some board to say there's a mistake made. Not just represent, but to Now, one of the things that you're going to have a long series of events this year because, the valuation is going on now and will be effective in 2015. So the reason I'm here today is to give you some ideas for this year that will be effective next year. And I see here on your schedule that you're going to appoint the Board of Equalization and Review, which I assume is going to be for 2014, not the board that will be judging the 2015 elections. And I doubt you're going to have very much to hear about the 2014, because as I'm going to explain to you, that's over. The issue is over. Get back to 2004. But one of the things that you're going to have to do this year is adopt the tax manual. Tax manual. And that's the key to what the board can hear and what people can bring up. Because you see, if you don't have it in that tax manual, then you just get the state plan. And I'm sure that I haven't seen the manual this year. I've gone through last year's manual in the tax office, but the one that we're operating under now is just the state manual that comes out. One of the things that I want to emphasize to you is the Board of Equalization and Review can only hear, there's some court authority to this, if it's in the tax manual, what the last evaluation was, not what's happened the year after that, the year after that, the year after that. We're going back 8 years. And one of the things that has come up several times, the ones that I have presented, is if there's a bona fide sale of property, in one of those 8 years, they can't hear it. They won't hear it. Because the manual says you have to go back to the other previous evaluation. And part of that, the reason for it is so that everybody would be on the level playing field, but they didn't contemplate the legislation that we would be going 8 years out. You see. And the rule that the legislature has established, is in the statute, is that you're not allowed statutorily just to bring up a reevaluation based on general inflation or deflation. In other words, if the economy goes up 10%, you can't come in the next year and say, well, everybody's property went up 10%, therefore I want my property to go up 10% and go down 10%. But in the case of where you have a bona fide sale for some particular property, I think that's something that ought to be in the manual and we ought to be in the manual. So that's my suggestion, and I've got here, if you want to, or I'll hand it up, a case in which I had, this is 2010, in which we had a bona fide sale. The property had been on the market for quite some time. And finally sold at quite a bit less than what it had been appraised for at that time. 6 years ago, we'll do that as you can't make the adjustment. We're bound by laws to any correction. And if you want to give some tax relief to people and give them a fair opportunity to, nobody knows their property better than the people themselves. You don't know it, I don't know it, the appraiser doesn't know it better than they do. And I think they have a right to come into the Board of Equalization and give their opinion. And that's another thing. Some part of the time, in our procedure, we've got this rule that you have to have an appraiser. And one of the things in this particular case was, it's going to cost $500 or $600 to have an appraisal made to reduce the taxes for 2 years. $75 or $100. Well, that doesn't make up the number 6. Who's going to do that? Like I said before, who's going to go down to Raleigh, get an appraisal, pay a lawyer to go down there and spend 3 or 4 days to save $2 to $75 a year? So if it's not in that manual, it's not good. That's what I'm saying. I think when that manual comes before, you need to look at it carefully. And I think there's room under the cases and under the statute. Not for somebody to come in and just complain, well, everybody's value went down 20%, therefore I want mine to be down 20%. But specific items. And I think the tax office does now, and properly so. If you have property and your house burns down, then all its value the next year is just the land value. They will make that adjustment. They'll hear that. Conversely, if you add on a garage or another building, and that building permit goes through, Richard will come in and he'll increase it for that. But not for the sales price. Or for example, if you give a farm 1 year, halfway through, say 2004, 2006, the last one was, somebody puts their property in farm value. They still have the market value for what it was before. You can't go before the court. Get relief. I've seen old people cry. They were at the courthouse. Well, wouldn't listen to them. And the reason they wouldn't listen to them is it's not in the future. So that's my suggestion. If any of y'all are interested, and I just wanted to bring it up early enough in the cycle that when the manual comes up, you consider putting some specific language in there for Macon County and not just for Raleigh, to allow people to come before that Board of Equalization and present some evidence. Not just real estate appraisals, but their own evidence and what they make the property for. It'd be a lesson in the future.
We appreciate you coming. That's good information. And, I know I've never been through a reevaluation on things that these guys have. No theirs. So this is all new to us. I would appreciate whatever comments you have or suggestions, you write those down and maybe get those suggestions.
I'll send you a couple of letters. You can order not letter.
Yeah, just communicate that to him. I think would be you don't make sure it's the fairest we can be, and people have the right to be
Like I
heard.
said, I'm one of the few people that have had experience for 20 or 30 years, and I've had some decades.
And I had the privilege of hearing Mr. Neville several times when I was chairman of the board of equalization for a number of years. I had the privilege of hearing.
You being on, I think, thanks to this one.
That's right, Mr. Banks was being there, yeah. So, innocent process.
There's no reason, I mean, one of the reasons for having it the way it is for Raleigh is they don't want people coming in and just wasting a lot of time. And like I said, this year, I doubt you're going to have one. People have had an opportunity now for 7 years to come in, and most of them have been turned down. This year, you might have a lot of them. Probably went down 40%. I thought it went down 50%. We have a big line of cases, and then the next 3 years, we'll get us to we don't want people to just come in and complain, well, I saw a TV that, in California went down 50%, and I should be We've got an actual bona fide market sale right here in this county. And somebody's come in and gone through the website and said, this is what this property's worth, and here's the stamps on the deed, and I come in here and tell them. I think we ought to open it up.
We have that statutory authority in Macon County to revise the
In my
state.
opinion, you do, because that's specific to the property. You don't have the authority to give an across-the-board thing, it's just because the economy went down
You would
10%,
want
we're going to reduce everybody 10%. So that's one year.
Specific parcels, I agree with you 100%. The tax value should be the market value. Is that what you're implying? Exactly.
That's a law in North Carolina.
So,
Whatever somebody writes a check for is the value of the property.
well, if it's bona fide, I don't say that you ought to have a dummy sale, but if it's bona fide, you can tell it because the deeds in the registered deeds office, it's got a stamp.
I think you need to know that the burden of proof, you can go for a board of equalization review, is on the taxpayer.
That's right, that's right. And if he brings that deed in here, like I did in this case, 2010, the board says, I'm sorry, we can't consider this evidence. It's not 2006, it's 2003.
It's going to be an interesting process. You're right.
If it's normal in sale, then that
Justifies
justifies.
sale, or if he puts, like I said, a farm exemption on it, a forestry exemption.
I agree with
I
that.
feel like go ahead and let them consider that for that year until the next year.
Can you write those suggestions down and get them to Chester?
And I'll take just a minute, go ahead and give this thing.
All right, thank you, Ricky. Anybody else want to comment publicly on Richard Rizzo, what we had signed that? All right, hear nobody. Any adjustments to the agenda? Does any board member have anything you want to add, delete, or change on the agenda?
Just one thing to add, Mr. Chairman, wherever you want to put it under new business, I guess, but I sent y'all a request from Georgia Raines. We've worked with Georgia before about the youth, and she was asking for some help to take these youth from Nantahala to the Penn Institute. So we'd like to put that down on the,
Make that, leave it be 10D,
what's C?
10D is the dog.
I think that's
All right, anybody have anything else to add or delete? I do have 3 items. I had a brief conversation with Chester this afternoon. There's 3 things that in my opinion, we're not ready to take action on. Under old business, the agreement with Appalachian Tree, we had a discussion, we'll talk about this much you want to, we'll ensure the value of the trees. Chester, is that fair? So if we allow them to take the trees, just for the trees, if there's a value to that, then we need to bid that out to be offered. So in my opinion, we'll take this and get that done.
You want to be assured that it's commensurate with what it costs.
Does anyone object to that being removed? The next one is resolution regarding transfer of playground equipment to Macon Middle School. It's come to my attention, we need to advertise that. Though I'm sure we will do that, we need to make that
Kind of post a notice of it.
post a notice for 10 days, and that's not been done. So I would suggest we put that off. And then also, the consideration resolution under Bob Carter, Richard Chester, been a little under the weather and hadn't completed that yet.
We're in the process of it, we've got some good information together for it, but I feel we owe courtesy to the committee that's working on that, in memory of Bob, the opportunity to review that resolution.
So I would suggest we remove that at Chester.
And I think that could go to the 18th.
Does anyone object to that?
No objection.
Okay.
Could I make a comment on that?
Yes, sir.
I wasn't going to speak on that, but just for your information, one of Bob's sons, maybe the only son, recently contacted the historical museum across the street with a lot of Bob's sons.
Okay. He has two sons.
I don't know which one it was, but I was
Got three.
one day.
Dale's oldest, and then there's Bob, Robert, and
And then it lives in Silver.
they graduated me.
Tom.
Who?
Tom.
Tom, thank you, Joe.
I didn't know him, but he came in and we introduced ourselves and he said he was going to talk to him. Director about donating a lot of legislative things. Be very good. Thank you.
Gentlemen, if it's okay with you, we'll add the one that Mr. Beal added, and we'll delete, under 9, we'll delete B, C, and D. Any other changes? If not, a motion to approve that would be ordered. Motion by Hayden, second by Tate. Any discussion? All in favor of the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Under reports and presentations, we have an update on Smoky Mountain Center activities. We have Shelley Foreman, which Shelley, welcome. Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you for having me tonight. The one thing I always want to say to you as a Board of Commissioners is that Commissioner Beal is continuously has since his participation on Smoky up to current day plays a key leadership role on our Board of Directors and has been instrumental in guiding us to where we are now and working to do the best to support the people of this community as we move into the future. So I always think that that's worth noting that his leadership is really critical to Smoky, and we really appreciate your having him participate on our Board of Directors. I'm sure that you probably have been updating the board on things that have been happening. Unfortunately, I've been out on medical leave for a while and haven't been out to visit. So I'll try to be brief because I do see you have a very long agenda tonight, and then if you have questions, we can answer those. In your packet, we have, it was at the time when I sent the proposed new board. We're happy to say that as of October 1st, Smoky Mountain Center began managing the Medicaid, state, and local funds for the old Western Highlands counties, the 8 counties that made up Western Highlands. As of last month, the Secretary gave her final seal of approval to that consolidation of the 23 counties of the new Smoky Mountain Center Board. And as you know, and what I will say is Commissioner Beal has been very involved in is in the last legislative session, there was a fairly dramatic change in the board structure of county commissioner representatives from each county and an at-large member. It went to a board up to 21 individuals that had very specified designations as far as their expertise or the profession that they needed to be in and represent. What we did with Smoky is we worked very hard to obviously have to honor, we had to do the board structure as required by legislation, but we worked very hard to keep our leadership in the way of our commissioners and some of the county managers from the old Western Highlands County in the at-large positions and or positions that they could fill for the specified seats. There was a lot of effort to stop that board structure, which did not work. One of the things that happened as part of the change in that board structure was the creation of a county commissioner advisory council. I think that was through work through the North Carolina Association to say that if you're not going to have county representation on this board, there still has to be a mechanism for counties and county government to be able to participate in the role of mental health, substance abuse, and intellectual and developmental disability services, how things are working in their community, and how we need to move forward to best support the community. So one of the things that we'll be doing is, in support through some of our commissioners on the board, is trying to get that body established. We have lots of options to how we do it. We serve 23 counties, so we can be flexible, but I think it's an important venue for you as a community and a county to have a voice and to have your perception of how things are going in your community heard by the Smoky Mountain Center Administration Board. So we'll continue to work on that. The new board has just had one meeting, so we're just getting started on this initiative. So at the same time that we had worked to consolidate with the 23 counties of Smoky Mountain Center and Western Highlands, Governor McCrory came out with an initiative called Partnership for a Healthy North Carolina. As you know, we have worked very hard for multiple years to really be able to grow our organizations into public managers of Medicaid services, because we feel like our organization has a community presence. We have community collaboration staff, care coordination staff. We work closely with your local comprehensive providers, and we're here in your community. So we fought very hard for that. Governor McCrory came out with an initiative that, which if you've talked a lot about this, please stop me at any moment, where he basically...
Never changing, so it's sort of...
Well, right, his initial view of the partnership was to have 1 to 3-ish statewide organizations to manage all Medicaid services, not just the ones that we provide through mental health, addiction, and developmental disabilities, but to create organizations that would manage all medical, dental, vision, behavioral health, any Medicaid service. That would require a dramatic change in public policy and legislation and the Medicaid rules that we're already guided by through the Center for Medicaid Services at the federal level. As this initiative came out, there was widespread concern, I guess we might say, from organizations such as LME MCOs, through the Physicians Association, Hospital Association, just a lot of concern that there was really, that we did not feel, and many organizations did not feel, that privatizing the management of Medicaid would be beneficial to the community. So just recently, the Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services came out with a report which sort of took a step backward from that initial privatization of the system. And basically what they're saying is that they are going to give organizations the opportunity across the state of North Carolina to begin a phased-in process of managing Medicaid, meaning that there would be accountable care organizations created. It would be pretty much healthcare driven, major healthcare systems, and would engage the primary and tertiary care doctors. We have been given the mandate through our division that in order for us to participate, we need to consolidate to 4 LMEs statewide. One of the things in your packet is this map, which shows, and I have reports that I put in for you, that Smoky Mountain Center is being asked to consolidate with Partners Behavioral Health and Centerpoint Behavioral Health. 3 other LMEs are in the process of consolidating, And if we move in that direction, it appears that we will continue to play a role, or could potentially play a role. I think that it's a time of a lot of uncertainty in the system. Commissioner Beal, I don't know if you would agree with that, but I think.
Well, what it's going to do is go from Cherokee County to Rockingham County, including Forsyth County, which is Winston-Salem. And it's a huge area. And our concerns are, of course, is the further you get west, the more rural you get. I'm the only one this west. We are working just trying with the other counties and getting the county commissioner. This is really important. All counties have a voice. But those of us in the west, it concerns us when you incorporate counties like Buffalo, Henderson, Forsyth,
Winston-Salem, yeah.
Winston-Salem. So we're going to, myself and Mandy Stone are the representatives from Smoky
Right.
In those negotiations, and I guess they'll start up on the 26th. So we certainly hope that we need to keep our foot in the water as far as the rural county stuff. And we will certainly try to.
I totally agree, and I think one of the things I would like to say to you is that, as a county, I know your biggest concern is what you just said, Commissioner Beal, is that as we're forced to grow based on state initiative and state mandate, what does that mean for local communities? And what I can say is that Smoky is committed to continue to have local-based staff working in your community with individuals who receive services, who will work with your agencies, organizations, social services, sheriff's department, and work closely with your provider organizations. I think through having the Commissioner Advisory Council and having several other, we have a Consumer and Family Advisory Council, we need to just make sure that community voices are heard. And as you know, the new board, because it's new, will have a 1, 2, and 3 year sort of schedule of rotation. So we'll continue to try to bring in other communities that were not represented as people rotate off the board. But Commissioner Beal is very involved in the regionalization with the other 2 LME MCOs, and it's something that we're being, required to do. And I think that we want to continue to be the public manager of behavioral health services. How we will relate to these accountable care organizations that will be created over the next several years, I think a lot is up in the air about that. And I think a lot of things have to happen legislatively with the 2014 elections, and a lot will have to happen. But I guess the thing I would like you to really take home is that even as we grow, we really do want to maintain and will maintain our local presence. And I'll be working with our CEO and with our commissioners on the County Commissioner Advisory Council, and I'm very excited to be able to make that something meaningful for everyone in the community.
It's a really big deal, and you seen what it cost us in this county, which arguably we give about $300,000. We gave the office. That's what's cost us right now, the ER and the transportation and the different things. We're so fortunate we do have the walk-in center. We have the walk-in center on the road. So we look forward as we go down this road. It's ever changing. But with most of these counties, especially our 23 counties, we found that we can work together. They offer some things that we don't have. We can't buy a big authority, a psychiatrist or psychologist. We do have one now coming to Franklin 2 days a week. Make an appointment how you might get in 6 or 7 weeks. So, but those things are important to the taxpayer, but to the families who are involved in this. So, Mr. Chairman, we'll continue to work on that, and we will be asking one more from this board to be involved, and that will give you, we'll have that discussion. And talk to everybody from Cherokee, Jackson, they're certainly ready to be involved. I was surprised at that because it's sort of, it's just the board. And the new board members that's on the new board, we'll work together with them. A lot of them have to go through, just like all of us did when we went on the board. But it's one of, as you know, it's changing things. So.
And really, your leadership is critical to us. And I hope that you as a board and the whole community understands that that longevity in history has been critical to keeping that local presence in mind, and that, you know, you do not want to get, no county wants to get lost in the growth of consolidation. Thank you, and you'll be seeing more of me.
Thank you, Shirley.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reed, for your efforts in that. I think all of us have had family members and friends and stuff, you know, else.
It touches
Everybody.
every family, I think.
We'll be
It's
following
not-
up on
it's not
this.
important to us.
This is part of our discussion tomorrow in Raleigh, that just see what changes happen since.
Hopefully, no changes in the short session, right?
We'll keep working.
Okay, we'll keep us updated.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. Alan Durden is coming to this board. Alan comes before us from time to time to give us a report from the Cooperative Extension Program. And Alan, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate the time to speak to you tonight. I don't get before you very much, just once a year. Your time's valuable, I know, but I do like to keep you updated on cooperative extension and things that we do. You're an excellent partner with cooperative extension, providing cooperative extension for this county. And I want to thank you for your support of cooperative extension. The mission of cooperative extension is to provide research-based information to the people of North Carolina, and specifically here in our office, Macon County. We provide information, non-biased, research-based information that will help improve people's quality of their lives, people's income, and the environment. Our mission is something that we like to we can take pride in. We do try and provide be a good source of information for everyone. We have programs in agriculture, in family and consumer science, and 4-H, and in community development. Our program impact reports, which you have before you, is somewhat detailed information on what we did in the year 2013. Now, that is not everything that we do. We can't put everything that we do in that book. It's just too much. But that is highlights, and I want to tell you, just give you a summary of the summary of some of the things that we did in Macon County. We're an educational organization, as I said. That is our goal. We're not a service organization, but some of the things that we do are in the realm of service. That just is an overlap, and it can't be, it's just something that we're glad to do in addition to education. But in here in Macon County, staff members of the Macon County Center conducted or participated in 381 educational meetings, workshops, demonstrations, lectures, tours, and the delivery of educational information to the citizens of Macon County in the year 2013. There were 7,149 people that attended 1,971 hours of classroom and field instruction. And like many state organizations, we're required to keep pretty detailed records. We do it on a monthly basis, and computers are great compilations, and that's where we get this information. So it is information that we keep track of on a regular basis. We do a lot of reporting, and we don't do it on paper so much anymore. Computers help us keep this up. More than 7,000 people attended extension education programs, and extension personnel in Macon County had over 15,000 face-to-face educational contact. Educational contact often is not as long as an hour or 2 hours, but it's people that come into our office, people that we see at the Macon County Fair, people that we may visit in a home situation, may go visit a farmer. Those are face-to-face educational contacts. So it's not a formal educational program. I did a formal education program today on drafting apple trees, on how to graft. And that was several hours classroom time plus then hands-on on the field. If I go down and visit with a farmer and identify a disease and help him find means to manage that disease, that also is face-to-face contact. As well as somebody just coming in our office that needs to know how to read a soil test report. And those are just some of the things that we do. We are still operating on a grant from the Cherokee Preservation Foundation that was awarded to Macon County in the year 2012, and it continues to fund a Youth Leadership Council development program here in Macon County. And that is a group that teaches leadership skills and also interacts with the government in Macon County. Mr. Bill, you met some of those people at our county commissioners meetings. If you attend those commissioners meetings and you attend the Forum Committee, you may meet some of our youth from Macon County. Those folks are part of the extension program, or 4-H program. And we're real happy to do that. That lets young people know how government operates. And that's part of what 4-H does. 799 volunteers assisted with the community with cooperative extension programming in 2013, and they donated 4,380 volunteer hours, valued at $96,974. And this is the equivalent of 2 full-time employees. And a lot of that work goes with helping in 4-H, helping at the Environmental Resource Center, working at our office, and other things that we have to do. We really need volunteer support. But that in a nutshell is what we're doing with the extension, what we've done last year, and we will strive to continue to do that in the next year. This is our 100th anniversary, and we'll be having a celebration around the 1st of May, and all of you will be invited to that. We're going for you to drop by. We're going to try and get examples of what we do, some of our 4-Hers, our archery program, shooting sports, some of the agricultural programs that we have at 4-H, like their sheep program, and we'd love to have you come by. And thank you again very much for your support, and if you have any questions or anything that I can answer, we'll be glad to.
Mr. Chairman, as liaison to the Extension Service, they were just, originally they had a statewide listening session, which we were able to attend, and there again, we got to make sure that we want to keep our extension proposals that I don't think nobody on this board would agree to. But proper extension is so important for our community. It is the glue that holds the community together. That is the only thing I know that puts the community all the way around. And like Alan said, they do so much more now than ever was a great job. So if you get a chance just to go up and visit the work you show people done at Florida School level, people can come in and hand their own vegetables. Without that help, it would never happen. So that's just one example. Not to mention these people that come up with community garden ideas and stuff like that. Call you more work. And but that's all a great success. We're really lucky for that, folks. And we're short at least 2 people there now. Which won't really complain. We're nice if they have it. But that's sort of out of our hands.
It is, and that's one of the reasons we appreciate Macon County so much is in the last, since the year 2000, cooperative extension in North Carolina has lost $20 million in permanent funds. And we've had to operate with that. In Macon County, it's called, right now we're vacant one ag position, and we have lost, it's called abolished, but we've lost one secretary position. That puts tremendous strain on the office operation itself. We could use that position back. And abolished just doesn't mean gone forever, it's gone, so we have to get that position back. But again, it makes the support and your partnership here in Macon County just that much more important, and we're really, really thankful for it. Appreciate Office of Cooperative Extension.
Now, what a lot of people may not realize that the cooperative extension is the extension of North Carolina State University and North Carolina A&T.
That's correct. You know, sometimes the things that you know so well, you kind of forget that other people may not know so well, but we are the extension. We're the extension of North Carolina State University in the county. When the land-grant university started, there's land-grant universities in every state. The land-grant universities were basically there to need to be, they also need to be tested. And so research farms were started. We were lucky to have 2 research farms in western North Carolina, actually 3. And at that point, then it was realized that our research information and it was tested was great, but it needed to go to the people directly in the counties. And that was when cooperative extension was formed. And so we do represent our extension at North Carolina State University in the county. We're in every county in North Carolina, plus the reservation of Cherokee. Again, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, Alex. Very much. And I appreciate very much what they do with their community clubs. We didn't talk a lot about that, but they're very active community clubs. Our county is way above the average as far as active community clubs in the county of the state. And for several that are just absolutely outstanding. So we appreciate what you do. I know community I live in Holly Springs is very active. Cowboys and others are very active. I appreciate what you do. So, thank you. Next, we have a presentation of survey findings by Mission Critical Partners. Here, do you have that?
Thank you, Chairman. First part of this year, end of last year, we decided to hire a consulting firm to check our emergency communication system. And earlier this afternoon, we put a small book there at each one of your desks. We hope you had a chance to read that. It's a very comprehensive plan that we want to go. And I'm basically here just to introduce Timothy Henderson and let him come in, and he's going to give you an executive summary of that 195-page report.
Jim?
Tim. I just found out my business card says Tim John. So when my mom called me. I've got a brief PowerPoint presentation. I won't try to take up much of your time. First of all, thank you for your time tonight. I'll go through the introduction, history of the project, explain a little bit of the process that Mission Critical Partners took for the project and for this assessment. Go through the different baselines, one being kind of factual and one being the technical, and the operational being what the users' issues were reported as. Go through a brief analysis and some conclusions and recommendations. As I said, my name is Tim Henneman. I was the project engineer in this traffic planning mission and analysis. I've got Phil Penny here with me also from Mission Critical Partners, and project manager William Rudy Rudolph could not be here tonight. A little bit about the current system that Mission County has right now for Sheriff's Department, fire, and EMS. Although some equipment is new at these sites, it's based on technology that is 30 years old. Narrowbanding is currently underway. Identifiability has been finalized. That'll further reduce coverage. Given terrain issues in this county, I don't think that'll have as big an impact as in some other areas. And these are the first responders that have surpassed the current system. And I think from what I've heard, there's been some complaints that probably prompted this assessment report. At that point, the county hired us to conduct this assessment. Our methodology was, we had an initialization or a kickoff meeting. We met with the county staff. We discussed the current system with them and asked them, the status, what their opinion of it was. From that, we also did the first responder focus groups. We met 3 different times on 3 different days with the Sheriff's Department, the fire, and the EMS from the county, and got their feedback on what they saw as strengths and weaknesses of the current system. We also did a web survey in case they couldn't make one of those 3 meetings and they still wanted to get their input. We had that open for them. While we were here for those, we also visited all the sites and we assessed all of these radio sites, these remote locations where these fixed sites are located. And we went out and had to cover it ourselves and had to do evaluations. And then, of course, we developed the technical baseline, is kind of the more factual baseline of the system. It's a conventional UHF and VHF high band repeaters. The important thing to take away from that is that there's 2 different bands. Most radios today communicate on 1 band only. There are more expensive ones that can communicate on 1 band, like you face that feature. The system is split among 6 sites, and each of those sites acts kind of as a standalone system. There's a site at the Cowee Vault, for instance, that coverage from Cowee is comes from Cowee, and the Wine Spring sites wouldn't help that side at all. I have some slides later on that kind of elaborate on that a little bit better. There's currently no backhaul at these sites. Backhaul is bringing information back from these sites to another location. So it'd be, every day, your cable company has backhaul from your home to one of their main offices. It's something similar to this, only in public safety, we tend to use a lot more wireless backhaul. That would be usually a licensed microwave shop. And there is currently about 800 total subscriber radios. That includes the portables, which are the handheld radios, and the mobiles, which you find installed in a car or a police vehicle. The operational baseline, we got this from user interviews. As I said, the Sheriff's Department, Fire, and the EMS. We documented all that feedback, and that did factor into our assessment and our coverage of the system. From all this, we came up with 4 of what we consider the most pressing system issues. Coverage, capacity, or channel options. Security and control. This is kind of relates to not only security of making sure that not just anybody can hear your system, that goes out and buy a $30 radio, but also control radios, that you know the quality of the installation, the quality of the radios being used on the system by fire and sheriff's departments. Interoperability, and that just entails what if the EMS needs to talk to sheriff's department, for instance. Right now, the EMS is like a different band than the sheriff's department. Well, their solution right now is they have 2 radios in each car. They have a VHF and a UHF radio they use. For the first issue, coverage. We found from the users that portable coverage was the most frequent complaint. They also complained about mobile coverage, which would be talking out from their vehicles. And this is, as we kind of investigated, we did find in a lot of these areas, we went out and tested areas where they said they were not getting coverage. We were able to get coverage, but it might have required testing all 6 of those sites. And in some cases, we got coverage from the site we didn't expect to receive coverage from. So there was coverage in a lot of these areas, it's just that from the user standpoint, they didn't know it was there. And that kind of ties into, they would have to actually change the channel on their radios to receive coverage in some of these areas, and it might require 3 or 4 channel changes. I've got this is a coverage map here. The red is, it could be some low coverage, you might have to repeat yourself a couple times, and the black areas are areas where we don't see usable coverage at all. And what turns out to be kind of a green color, mostly because there's a lot of forest in Macon County, that's where you would have reliable coverage. The blue circles are the sites. And actually, I kind of coded those so that the taller towers are a bigger circle. And this right here actually represents mobile coverage throughout the county. So if you were using a radio that was in the vehicle, a fire truck or a police car, a sheriff's car. And as you can see, when all 6 sites are turned on at once, it's actually a fair coverage throughout most of the county. The Nantahala area and that western portion is where you're lacking some of the coverage. Portable coverage for the handheld radios is worse than mobile coverage. You see a lot more red, a lot more black show up. That's actually an issue that we looked at. What if we added some existing sites in the county that maybe cellular carriers are on? And due to the training limitations in Lincoln County, you have to add an exorbitant amount of sites that just didn't seem feasible. Axon is own. That just kind of a blue, this blue area right here illustrates this point. Now, if I were to be in the site, it'd be the Wine Spring site, that furthest left site, and I'd be in that coverage footprint. As I'm heading up towards the yellow site, there's an area there where if I'm on the green site, and I know to switch over to the yellow side at some point, there's still that blue area in the middle there where I'm going to think I don't have coverage. In reality, if I knew to switch to that blue site, I would have coverage. And one more thing with noting, the coverage from radio site is never pretty like that. It's never a nice round circle. So it's hard to know when you need to switch and which suffix. For capacity for the channel option of the system, that is making sure you have enough voice channels for users to talk on. That you don't have maybe two fire crews talking over each other on different instruments because you don't have enough channels. This kind of ties into later on the two options. One provides a lot more capacity than the other. Right now, there are some private channels that fire departments use. They did voice concerns, however, over these private channels as they're not reported by dispatch. They do alleviate some of the congestion on the system. Security and control. Right now, anybody, and actually I did it on my trip out here in January, I had a little cheap $30 radio I bought. I looked online, I found the parameters for the Macon County system. I was in my hotel room listening to fire dispatch and police dispatch. If I wanted to, I could have done another 5 minutes worth of work and add a little more programming in my radio. I could have been talking on those channels as well. And from the county standpoint, you wouldn't know my location or anything about me besides the normal voice operation. The other kind of interior concern is that with the current analog infrastructure, different departments can go out and buy any radio they want and use it on this system. And it might be an inferior product. It might not be up to a recommended specification. They see it as the system's not working, I don't have coverage, and it might actually be the radio itself is performing the show. Interoperability. I talked a little bit about this as far as if EMS, fire, and sheriffs need to talk to each other on an incident. Right now, sheriffs and fire have it the best. They're both on UHF. They can switch over to each other's channels. EMS has to keep that other radio in their vehicle. In their handheld radios, they could not talk to sheriff or fire. As I said before, we took all these into consideration. We did an analysis of what might be some solutions that would best impact these factors here. Small shipping cost and market saving. And actually, a couple I'll speak to right now. The frequency band and licensing is a search of the VHF band and the UHF band. Plan on if the county needs to license an additional channel or two of this for either one of these options. The VHF channel is very congested. I think I found one potential candidate, and it didn't look very promising. And the UHF band, the county already has 4 channels countywide that they could reuse. And I found 4 or 5 candidates that looked promising. 1 or 2 of those, I think, would be the most the county need a license. The design recommendations, we recommend to provide countywide coverage on every channel that will eliminate the need for users to actually switch channels on their radios as they move throughout the county. To improve the reliability, that ties in with kind of the first point, increase capacity and channel options. We also feel that improving the security and control, I think actually more having control over what level of portables and mobiles are put on the system by EMS, sheriff, and fire users. We need more important there than the external threat of somebody listening to the system. And to improve the interoperability. To improve coverage, recommended what we call a simulcast transmit voting receive solution. Each one of the sites, they would transmit at the same time on a channel, so that a user anywhere in the county that is on that channel will get that transmission. It provides ubiquitous countywide coverage for a channel instead of 6 pockets of coverage. Add letter to receive, that does the same thing, just in reverse. It's when someone with a handheld radio or a mobile radio keys up and starts talking. If 3 sites receive that transmission, the system will vote on which one is receiving the fast transmission, and we'll use that one. And then we also have an option for both to add a new site in the Manatee area. That's for budgetary purposes, that site. It's not final, hasn't been investigated or researched. For reliability, we do recommend some site improvements. We'll use these sites. And that's an option that was included both for a 5-hour backup on each site. And for backhaul, that's included in both options. And I'll talk about that in a little bit more. To improve capacity, I recommended, I mentioned earlier, adding channels. For either option, that's a great idea. For one option, actually, it would be necessary. And that would be the trunking option, which I'll get to more. And security control, I talked about that a little bit ago, but if you implement one of the options I speak of later on, a digital solution, you actually can control which radios can go on the system. So a fire department or a sheriff's department goes out and buys a radio. They can program it up to the system. They still can't talk to the system until the county actually okays it to talk. And interoperability, as I talked about earlier. All right, on to the meat of the discussion. System options. Our first option is the one we recommended is a P25 trunking system. Real quick, P25 is a whole suite of standards that was developed for public safety radio systems. It defines a lot of interfaces between components of the radio system. What it really means is a P25 system you put in by one vendor. If you buy a portable or a mobile radio from a different vendor, you can use, as long as it's P25 capable, you can use that radio on your system. So buying one part by one vendor doesn't lock you into buying everything from one vendor. The second option, I'm sorry, I didn't explain the trunking. Trunking, it does raise the price tag quite a bit. It kind of works like aisles in a grocery store. Let's say a grocery store has 4 checkout lanes, and you get assigned the first time you go to that grocery store what checkout lane you're going to go to. Let's say you're going to check out lane 2. Every time you go in and you want to check out, you go to 2. Well, what if a certain day there's a lot of other aisle 2 people there, and you see your line has 10 people, but aisle 3 or 4 is open? Well, in a conventional system, that's how it works. If you are talking on one radio channel and it's tied up, that's it, you're waiting to talk. A trunking system, it actually has some smarts to it. It will say, hey, you know what, 3 and 4 are open, you go here. And it will actually spread out the load on the system. The second option would be to do a UHF conventional simulcast. That would be taking your existing equipment and just making all these channels countywide. So you would have 4 channels countywide right now on UHF. You could add a 5th, maybe a 6th. But if you have congestion on a fire dispatch channel, fire dispatch is waiting while police might not have any communication on their channel at all. And just a reminder that any prices we did budgetary pricing, so it's a rough order. For option 1, our estimated price is that can be down below $7 million. Now this does include, this price does include a good number of things. It includes a backhaul network that I talked about earlier for a way of connecting all these sites. That's going to be required for both options, whichever one you like to choose. It does reuse existing radio sites, and actually I've used all the antennas modeled the way they are now, the same heights, to kind of minimize some of the changes there. I I actually ran a study to see how many channels might be needed, the number of users in Macon County, we have 5 channels. So I'll be adding one additional channel. And there is some site improvement work, and this also includes having to buy, not having to do it, it includes buying new portables and mobiles for the end users, for all the sheriffs, fire, and units. Some of the strengths and weaknesses. I won't read every one. I will tell you that strengths: increased reliability, increased control of the network, control of the user experience. And I think it's the trunking architecture really does provide for more growth as the county might grow, might need additional capacity. It is a more costly solution. It does require the replacement of all the portables and mobiles in the county, and it would require that additional UHF channels. Second option, estimated about $2.1 million. Competitive procurement really wouldn't bring that down a whole lot more. It would use the existing radio sites. I did estimate 5 countywide channels. That would still be an additional channel added to the county. I did include the cost of adding that channel, about $160,000 to the county pursues that. Once again, it would still provide that countywide microwave. And one of the benefits would be the existing subscriber radios would still be used, so the users really wouldn't see much of a difference in the radios. The strengths and weaknesses, like I said, minimal operational adjustments for the end users. You would have countywide coverage, so it would address the coverage aspect of the issues. For the weaknesses, there would be a very limited capacity improvement, and the capacity issue would resurface in 4 or 5, any number of years from now. And there is also the fact there would be any increased security or control of the system. Quick comparison there for you. Well, for the option 1, the trunk system, that would require implementation of a paging system along with it. I included pricing for that also. It would reuse the existing pagers, however, and there'd be the possible reuse of the existing base stations that are out at sites now to minimize the cost of that. The add-ons I mentioned earlier, adding an uninterruptible power source to each site and with 5 hours of backup time. The greenfield site, that would be to improve coverage in the northwest area is where I put it, in the Nantahala area, based on my coverage maps. That would be taking a site from, it literally is a green field, purchasing the land. In this case, I would have to be a private landowner. I turned it to the Forest Service, to not allow new towers on the land. So the parks. The other option I added, this is for the conventional option only, would be to add that additional channel I mentioned for $150,000. For the next steps, it would be for the county to decide which option they want to go with. Start the frequency acquisition process as soon as possible. I've seen that hold up the systems before, but it has to be started early enough. And that's actually in the report. Maybe page 100 or something. I'm sure you've gotten that far already. So, but we do have explicit candidate frequencies that we found for pursuing. There'd also be the work to identify a potential greenfield site. The county elects to pursue that. That's another item that can take quite a bit of time. I've seen it take 2 years before to acquire a new site, and actually have it turned up in 1 year. And then the procurement process. There's 2 different options there. You do a sole source. The benefit there is it's much quicker. The drawback is you tend to pay a lot more. Competitive procurement or the RFP, that would take time to develop and time and effort. but it really does, increases the competition for a project like this, and you'll see vendors really reduce the cost. Any questions?
Tim, in your opinion, in your opinion, between the 2.1 and the 7, we'll call it 7, kind of like that. Will either of these options increase the safety and the citizens of our county? Number 2, increase the safety for the people responsible, whether it be EMS, fire, police, or whatever. Will both these systems do that?
Yes, they will. What I feel is though the one option, option 2, the conventional simulcast system, that will improve the coverage from the user standpoint. It won't improve capacity very much. It won't improve the security of the system. There's a lot of talk about capacity, but really anybody could listen to this system right now. And we don't have improved control over what kind of radios are being put in the system, legitimately. The fire users, the sheriffs, the meth users. So you might still see some issues with equipment with what's perceived as, well, the system didn't work, I didn't have coverage. It might actually be a faulty piece of equipment, it might be an interior battery, or a faulty install on a piece of equipment. And the capacity issue, that could come back up again as the county grows. And there's been an increase in call rate in the past 3 years. As the county grows, it might come to a point where you now have coverage, users are talking over each other, they're fighting for a channel. There's confusion because you have 2 different fire departments on different sides of the county talking on the same channel, and there's confusion on the fire ground. So I think the capacity issue, the simulcast analog solution would resurface and be hard to estimate in 5 to 10 years.
Thank you.
We need to take this digestible properly.
Look at these a lot of maps. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Good
Thank
work,
you, sir.
Thank you.
All favor? No, I think that needs to be a matter of budget discussion. All that, so thank you for the information. That was all that we had in the presentation. We only have one item under old business. The county manager has consideration of Park and Recreation Trust Fund.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You recall back, we originally brought this before the board on February the 11th. At that time, there were some things in the contract that we needed change and various attachments to the contract that were changed at the recommendation of legal counsel. On our February 18th meeting, we went ahead and approved the whole project, and we left this out. And this is a formality. It's simply telling the Parks and Recreation Trust Fund that we are going to do the $617,000 match that was originally proposed, that is required by the Carter grant. And in the meantime, I think that we have decided, after this agreement is approved, we're in the process of getting an appraisal, getting that back to Carter. And Chester is going to draft a letter that notifies Carter that we are going to proceed with the entire parcel. So this is
Seeking
just
their approval.
Yes, seeking their approval. And this is just their, again, we're just telling them that we're agreeing to do what we said we were going to.
We had some things that need to be changed. The main thing we need to change was the recognition of our waiver for the acquisition of property before receiving the Farm grant, because if we signed the agreement the way it was, we were not going to get any reimbursement. And so they made that change for us, acknowledged our waiver, and put that in for us. That particular document, if it's to be approved, needs to be with the express authorization of Chairman Corbett to execute that document on behalf.
So moved. Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Chester. Chair. Under new business, we have a request for JB disposal. Is here.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rowland and Commissioners. I am Rita Hamster from JB Disposal, and I have 3 items on the agenda tonight. And one of them is the lease for the Highlands Road property convenience center. The other one is I'm requesting a residential rate increase for the county. And also, I would like to address my franchise extension request again. So, which one would you like to discuss first?
I guess we need to take those separately.
I think it would be appropriate. The lease is something I think you probably need all be able to do pretty quickly. What I gather, that's a lease that is actually, by its express term, is expired. I think you probably put this on sort of a month-to-month basis, and that's what I understand you want something more solid.
Well, I just need to know if the county is interested in, continuing with the lease. Right now, it's been a year and a half, and I brought it to the former county manager and got no response, and it was never brought up. I'm just moving forward.
You mind just what the lease is?
It's actually attached, I believe, to our agenda, if it's not that mistaken. I glanced through, and it did appear that it had technically expired, but that we continue to occupy and use, so.
That, in my opinion, here, that's not. And that's simply just, subject to the library, that's a lease, leasing the property on the Highland Road, the convenience center.
That's my understanding, yes.
Yes.
And I think basically what she's asking for, let's get that a little bit more formalized, that lease has expired. It's formalized.
No questions, concerns? Clarification, motion?
I'll just go ahead and make a motion to have Chester review it.
And if it's acceptable, I'll work with Hampton about terms and what she'd like to see in that, then I can bring it back to the board.
So, Commissioner Tate recommends table.
No, I'm recommending just go ahead and Chester review it. Look at the lease. Just on how long it was. For the Highlands Road.
Benita, now, that Highland Road Convenience Center site, is that the drop-off site?
It's where the action center is, yes. And it goes right behind the air conditioning company there.
Yeah. You're not talking about your property there?
No.
You lease that to Joe or somebody?
Well, that is my property that I'm leasing to the county for the convenience center.
Oh, okay. You own the property of the Highland Road Convenience Center?
Right.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, break it down for me, you know me.
Your motion to approve the
Well, no, not about to approve a rental agreement. Go ahead and make a motion with Chester go ahead. Come up
Sit
with
down
us a
with
rental
her.
agreement.
You're not asking for an increase, are you?
No, I really am, but I would like to basically
Approve the
just
lease, not approve the lease.
to see
Authority, go ahead.
what the idea of the county is, if you're planning to stay there, if you're planning to to move on or, you know.
Okay, that's pretty good. We get this lease under wrap before she changes her mind. Make a great convenience under that. Convenience
The
store.
most busy one in the county. So we put a lot into the land.
Yes, you
Of course,
can.
maybe, the county's invested a lot in this county.
But I've also done, you know, I haven't charged a lot of renting.
Well, just for point of order, we don't have a second, Commissioner Davis.
So say it again, Jim, what's the, you
I'm just gonna
accept
give
it?
Chester, and maybe it will need to make a recent consensus, and Chester start reviewing this with her, Mr. Stahl.
Bring it back.
We'll bring it back for the board.
That's entirely appropriate.
Yeah.
Is that a consensus you need, is that, you on second
I
on
think,
that?
I think it should just probably, we're not re-voting.
Good with you?
I do think it's a point though that the appropriate to come back on with the
That's fine.
Is that good with you? Is that-
It's fine.
Yeah, that, just because.
Don't change your mind before you have.
No, I don't plan on it.
Okay.
Okay, so Chester can take care of that, and the, item number 2 is a rate increase for residential tax surplus.
Yes, I have not requested a rate increase since 2008, 6 years, and I don't have to tell any of you guys what the cost of fuel and expenses of maintaining equipment has increased tremendously. So I'm requesting a rate increase for residential service.
Just over each Chester. Just have to private business operating for the county. Probably
She has the franchise and there's an ordinance in place that regulates all of this and actually, if it would be helpful to the commission, I can get each of you a copy of that so you better understand the framework that we're working under. But there, in a nutshell, there's a franchise and she can't just charge, she has to seek approval from this board.
Since it's a contract with the county,
Basically.
Have you got none, or my little thing doesn't work tonight? Can you, have you got none on the tentative increase or anything like that?
Well, over the course of 6 years, I broke it down, it comes to about a little over 2% over the course of 6 years per. So, you know, it comes to a 12 to 13% total. But over the course of 6 years, it breaks down to about 2%, or a little over 2%.
6 year numbers came from where?
From
6 years came from.
My last increase was 2008.
How much money are you talking about with the increases? I mean,
Okay, from my house backdoor service, right now for the county is $15.50 per month. I'm asking to go to $17 per
I
month.
mean, how much in real dollars is that? I mean, how much money is that total to you?
Well,
$2 is that, are you earning?
it's $1.50. You know, I'm really, right now, my residential services are breaking even. There's no problem.
And back door means,
I come up to the garage and pick it up,
and others, they sit in the curb.
or otherwise it's the
The
curbside.
Highlands rate is for house service.
That is for house service, and then they, in roadside, if they request it, we do have some roadside. The Highlands, I have requested a bigger increase because from my office to Highlands, town of Highlands, it's 18 miles, and then from there it's spread out. So the cost to do the Highlands services, yeah.
How many employees do you have with residential?
Residential, I have 3.
Fair on that, too.
Yes, I have, and then we do some recycling also.
If you look on that, I know I'm not being supposed to.
Okay.
Where the switch from.
I think it would, question some of this stuff, maybe beneficial to know. I don't know where other places charge for residential pickup.
Well, I am probably, and I think
I'm not doubting that at all.
Mr. Stahl attest to that, but I am very low on my residential rates.
Again, I'm not doubting that, we're getting to know if this is half of what Graham County charging or somewhere else.
It's not a service that people are bound to subscribe to. It's a choice.
It's a choice, absolutely. You know, we have the convenience centers, and it is a choice that people make.
So it's not like it's forcing someone to subscribe to.
It's a choice in the service, but you have no other option with other services.
Other than all
Well, you can take it to the centers, yeah. But I will say, in 1985, in Florida, I was getting more money in Florida in 1985 than what this rate is today.
Those houses you can't put apart on there.
That's right. I mean, here, you might pick up a house and go 7-8 miles before you pick up your next one. So,
How many customers do you have in the house service?
I have roughly, in Franklin, I have probably about 550.
It's been about a $750 increase. And that's for weekly.
It's a weekly service, and this is a monthly bill.
That's not bad.
The bill you get this year, not for a week, that's
Month.
but the service.
Correct.
Have you notified your customers of the proposed rate increase?
No, I have not, sir. I don't do any of that till I come before the board. I don't take anything for granted. So,
I think it's a fair request. I think it's a fair request. Make a motion to approve. Only under condition that it's a choice.
correct. And it's,
And I've known her a long time, and I know how she runs the business. She's not the out of here.
Okay, motion second. Any discussion?
Well, I've also do a lot of business with over the years. People do, I'd say I think more than the rest of the course combined. They're a good church, I don't know, I know. But they will tell you, I know. She's always.
More likely for me to review that franchise ordinance and make sure we get this process completely on.
Absolutely.
That's part of your motion.
Amend it, go ahead.
Okay, any other discussion on the proposed rate increase?
Just a couple of minor questions. So if you're at Nantahala, for example, you still have to provide them service, and that'll be the Franklin.
no, Nantahala, I do not have any customers in Nantahala.
But I guess if they wanted,
But if they wanted it, would have to be, I would hope that I would be able to charge the Highlands rate. Yeah.
How far do you go out now, without charging the highway rate?
Right now, I have the $12 for roadside service, and I have $15.50.
That's the circumference of the
That's the
Nantahala.
Highlands and that goes, I go to Otto, I go to Highlands, I go out to Learning Town. You know, if a customer calls me, I will go, because that's part of my contract.
last question. Chris, will you coach with us?
Yeah, I was just wondering if I think you had asked about some numbers. I don't have a lot, but I can give you just a few.
I can tell it's cheap, he's looking at it.
Well, if you believe it's cheap, then I won't.
I'm just curious, that were
Inexpensive, but cheaper.
Of course, I deal with counties, and most of this is handled by towns. We talked about curbside collection. But $14 to $18, well, $14 to about $20 is kind of one range, and there's another range from like 22 to 26. In some of those higher ones, the residential customer, or like when Jamie brings her residential can in, she's not charged a tip to her having it. But in some counties, they charge everybody. So their rates have to be higher because they have to cover the tipping fee on top. But $14 to right around $20 is a small sample size, but from the counties that I talked to in this area when I was asking some other questions. That's kind of the feedback I got on this road.
And now the household still pays a tipping fee. Even though she's picking their way.
The household pays an availability.
Okay, a fee. So that would be appropriate, yeah, that's good.
Right, yeah. I mean,
It'd be double dip.
every county, well, actually, we can't charge, if we were charging her residential customer a tipping fee, we could not also charge them the regular.
Can't charge both.
Good rate. Good rate.
The reason I'm saying that, Chief, if I'm not mistaken, this is a good bit less than Thomas charges.
It is.
I don't have a choice.
She can.
It's required in Holland. You have power, water, you pay cash, period. Whether you use it or not.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. And the, number 3 would be the franchise extension.
Yes, sir. I'm seeking a 5-year extension on the franchise. Because, like I stated, I currently have vehicles that are, they're bleeding me because of just these parts. As Paul probably can attest to. When a truck gets to be a certain age and it has 500+ thousand miles on it, there's nothing that goes out that's cheap. It's $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, and across the board, you know, at the end of the day, that's pretty heavy. And so I'd rather put that kind of money into a new vehicle and not have these headaches because you're just throwing money away.
So, and I would suggest, if the board agrees, that I think our attorney said he was going to review the franchise agreement in total anyway.
Just give me an opportunity
And
to look at
bring,
it.
and bring this back, that recommendation too. And is that 5 years normal, or is that, I know before we had one, anything wrong with that right now?
No, they've all been on 5-year
5 years,
increments.
okay.
Right.
We approved one in 2002,
Well, the last
and
one was,
2007.
5 years, I don't think is
I think we did more than
motivated
that.
it at all. I mean, it's a function of needing some time in order to make capital investment.
yeah, you cannot
You-
make.
you
Now,
can't-
any of these new legislative changes, Chester, does the bidding process come into play, because there's some new rules?
Yeah, we're gonna have to look at all of that and make sure our ordinance and franchise arrangement is up to speed.
Because there are some new,
Well, in all due respect, I was here, you know, over a year and 9 months ago, and requesting this, and I was told that this was going to happen, and I would be contacted, and I was never contacted at that meeting after that. So, you know, down to 2 years, and there's no way I can buy a truck and write it off in 2 years. Absolutely.
And that's part of that, if you keep provisions, if you buy or lease a truck, I don't think banks typically want to lease unless they know you have a.
You know, and as it is, I try to get them on, when I buy, I try to do it on a 7-year payoff. And even with that, with the cost of these trucks, it's pretty much.
All right, who's gonna talk back to this time, not leave her hanging?
just bring back, that's probably,
Yeah,
Let's just,
it's your April.
at April meeting,
just bring it back to the district, Chester, bring it back to her.
that way you got a date.
Okay, very good.
Does he have your contact information?
I have it, I have my call.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I'd always say it, I appreciate your service.
Thank you.
We'll take care of that in our April meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, 7:30, need a break, or you want to keep coming?
Just try to keep it.
All right, we're getting down to the end of the block. We have a request.
Thank you for hearing us again tonight. Last year, following budget sequester, MPP requested support from the county for our HUD Section 8 rental assistance program. Macon County agreed to support the request and provided us $12,000, and we're very thankful for that. And that paid for our administrative costs. associated with operating this program, and it offset the 30% reduction in our eligible funds. That was last June. Our request then was based on the knowledge we had of the funding levels that we were anticipating. We went through the sequester late in the year, and we lost some more money, and that has not been reinstated for 2014. We're given very little hope that it will be from the Greensboro office that supports us. We really want to strongly believe that this housing service is important to the citizens of Macon County, and we are asking that you would again supplement the funds used to support the administrative costs of the HUD program here in this county. I'd be glad to answer any questions and carries with the council.
What is the amount?
13,000.
This will take you to June, right?
Yes, sir.
So that'd be a total of 25 a year.
That's correct.
We did have a discussion with our congressman about this. He said he was being contacted us today. I don't know if you heard or not. We did have this conversation with Congressman Meadows, and he seemed surprised that he's had to come through the field for office. So hopefully, we don't know that either. In the meantime, are you out of money?
$5,000 in the hole. That's after having spent your $12,000 to do something in our program with. I have to do something quick.
Just relate to the board to how many families his services and what you wait for.
We serve 150 families, give or take a few families each month. We can add a few more. Of course, that pot of money is the rental assistance money, and it has stayed the same. We're administering the same pot of funds to actually the check stub landowners, and we're doing that for a lot less money. We're receiving a little over $5,000 a month for the administrative costs right now. We can go back 10 years in time and we were receiving $9,000 a month. Most recently from federal government, yes. And so most recently it's been about $7,000 until last year, and it's cut down to about $5,000. So that pays for 2 employees and the cost associated with it. We have 150 people on the program. We have not opened the waiting list or opened applications for about 2 years now, and we still have 100 or plus people on our waiting list. Folks, when they're getting HUD, it costs to move, they're staying where they are, and so there's no turnover, they're sticking there, and so the waiting list is big, and we haven't taken applications.
If the waiting list hasn't been cut off, if you have a guess, how many you have?
Hundreds.
Chuck, I know how valuable the HUD program is in there. I see a little more on this corner. I'd like to make a motion to do this.
Second. We have a motion and second to, I'm assuming since that's not a budget item, you're talking about taking that contingency. I think, you got a motion and second discussion. I'll just say this. I think there's 2 decisions we need to think about. We do what Ron suggested, take that out of contingency, that's what contingency is for, and take the things, et cetera. But then, I think there's an implication of the $25,000 budget. That, maybe I read it that.
Well, hopefully by a conversation with Congress,
and that's true, but he did not seem to think that it would continue. He thought funding would be restored.
He assured all of us that he would be checking into that last understood him. So we're very hopeful that by the end of the budget,
We had a pretty strong conversation with Lynn. Fairly certain, but what I'm saying is, he's one Congress got a 435, and they've got to restore that.
he's willing to support it.
And you explained all this to us back in June about the total amount of money. What is the amount of money you get to fund this program? Federal dollars to fund the Section 8 housing.
It comes in 2 pots. The first pot is actually for the rental assistance, and that's about $650,000 per year.
And that subsidizes the rent.
That's correct. Subsidized grant, elderly, disabled, folks who meet that poverty guide.
Included in that is administrative costs.
Separate from that is the administrative cost.
That was $7,000 to $9,000 per month.
It's now down to about $5,300 per month. So
That's down from 7.
that's great.
And it's been the same two employees for a long time, but I remember, Gary, I don't know if that long it's been. The volume has grown, but the number of people administering the program has grown.
Yes,
No.
There's no reason shifting from the big pot to the little pot.
that's correct. You can take all the administrative money you want and help more people. You cannot take the housing assistance money and use it for administrative costs. And that's what we used to do when we were receiving $9,000 a month back in 2004. We had extra administrative money, we'd help more people. But we can't go the other way.
It's bad deal. It serves, like I told Gary and I talked, sometimes it serves the neediest of the needy. But it shifts that responsibility from a federally funded program to local taxpayers is a big jump in my mind. And it's not a great amount of money, no it isn't. But it's just, this thing is, what are the plans for this? They know you can't administer that money. What's the federal suggestion?
We're very short on suggestions from Greensboro, and we just don't get much technical support in how to do it. We get some things, but we've done everything they've asked us to do as far as minimizing the administrative costs.
Good discussion. All in favor? No discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Chuck, could you tell me how quick you need this money, or would you want to relay that while you're sitting here? Or?
As quickly as you can, but thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Chuck, and Gary, thank you.
Thank you. Back to John.
We have a request, I think all of you have this, I know I'll pass it around, you get the proclamation, everybody get that? Proclamation declaring Macon County as a Purple Heart County, and I won't read it, but essentially recognizes residents who get engaged in a war, declare enemy against the United States, etc. Recognizes their commitment to increasing sacrifices of military families. The claims that we declare Macon County as a Purple Heart County in the state of North Carolina.
Move to adopt the proclamation as written, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that?
After, visiting Arlington Cemetery for several hours, you can see why agree to vote for this proclamation.
Yes. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen. With one other item, youth. Dan, I have a youth.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is from Georgia Raines and those of you who were on the board, Mr. Haven and Mr. Chairman, I think Jimmy might have been here too. I don't know that for sure, but every 2 or 3 years, we sponsor these group of kids, usually from Nantahala or from Highlands, from economically challenged families to go to the Judah Lester Conference Center. We funded a group 3 years ago to do the same. These youth are not only part of the county, but the regional efforts for prevention, awareness of substance abuse issues and the surrounding risk behavior. And if you remember those who came back last year with a report from those schools, we had, the cost of the sponsor these kids from Nantahala, the total is 5 students and 1 adult advisor from Nantahala. 3 of these students and the adult are from Nantahala. And so sponsor those 3 students and the advisor. is $150 per person, so it'd be $900. So, we would, they've asked for our support, and if you know anything about the Teen Institute and what they do, I just believe it's a good investment for these kids and what they bring back, because kids listen to kids, and we saw that happen in this situation, and what they've learned, whether it be about substance abuse, especially about others driving, if you remember that. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we do sponsor these young folks for this class, and I hope and believe that they'll bring back some valuable information to their classmates and to those others in school. So I'd like to make a motion that we appropriate $900 to the Mountain Projects Incorporated, to the Teen Institute coordinator, and sponsor these children to this event.
Do we have a line item?
Yeah.
Couldn't be dropped from the community under the boat.
That's too late for that.
It's already,
50,000 this year's already been dispersed.
but that's good for them.
And it's just about every 3 years that they come. They go to different counties sponsor our kids. And so it's about every 3 years. 4 kids and 5 students and 1 adult.
Okay, we have a motion second to sponsor these young folks at a cost of $900. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. One. Okay, gentlemen, you have your consent agenda. Those of you may not have been here before, I guess everybody's familiar with that. This is an item that normally does not require a lot of discussion, or maybe no discussion. It's the minutes, one budget amendment, tax release, tax refunds, maintain public health fee, and monthly capital oil tax collection report which we received in detail. If any board member would like to remove one of those items, please say that at this time. If not, a motion to approve it would be in order.
So,
Okay, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as received in your pre-meeting packet. Any discussion?
I'll second it and push one question, John. So I'll second that and just make sure that Mr. Hickson is aware and supports on the health department fee schedule increase.
Shot.
Well, you're fine with that?
Could you pronounce that? Pronounce it, I'll vote for it.
Well, no, there's several of them. If you like to propose changes or rabies, I can pronounce that, Japanese encephalitis. So that's okay, Tom?
Yeah.
You're okay.
Yeah, I don't want any of that stuff is, but it's.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Under appointments, we do have, I believe, correct, we have an appointment, the Highlands representative.
Looks like there's actually several.
The Board of Equalization.
There's 4 on here, and we'll add one more.
Okay.
That's Gary Drake, we're adding to that list.
Gary Drake. That's okay. I'll make a motion.
Okay. We have a motion second. Gary does what we're doing.
But that looks like a good, those folks that's on there that, you got a realtor, you got Kevin who's an appraiser, Dwight who's an appraiser, Mr. Martin who owns several pieces of property as a citizen.
Raise the bill.
That's Mr. Bill Martin. I don't know about that.
No, Bill's a good one, he's good to have on there.
He's been there for years, and so it's important to have consistency on this.
We
board.
approved the whole board, just had to get rid of it.
Well, I thought we were doing the whole board.
Okay, okay, you don't think, just make sure it's clear. Okay. All right, we've had a motion and a second to do that. Any discussion on the motion, or remember that?
That's a good thing.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. The second one is the Macon County Heritage Center Advisory Board. And Mike, you want to talk about that?
Dave Lambert is serving as, I believe, the Chief Administrative Officer for the Land Trust for Rural Tennessee. And by her to have holding that office, she was on the board for the Heritage Center at Callaway School. She is resigning her position with the LTLT, and as such is also giving up her seat on that board. And made us aware of that. I just wanted to put that before you to consider a replacement for her on that.
Mr. Chairman, we will have some to bring before you, hopefully, next Tuesday to replace. We hate to lose Betty. Betty's been very active.
She's retired.
She's retired. And but we will have some folks who are very interested in that position. We will have their applications to you just as soon as we can get them. Hopefully, if not next year, we certainly have them.
Thank you very much. We do have a request for a closed session. I'm assuming we'll vote to do that. Let me go ahead and mention item number 14. Mr. Manager, would you like to address, you had a request for us to meet on March the 18th?
Yes, sir. I had spoke with Dr. Don Thomas. I would like for this board to sit down with the Southwestern Community College Board and discuss again their master plan, their 30-year master plan, and the direction they plan on proceeding from here. The venue for that discussion will be at the Grove Center, and it will, as proposed right now, and if it's the pleasure of the board, will reconvene there at 6 o'clock on Tuesday, March 8th.
Mr. Manager, do you know, I know that since we had that initial discussion, we're going to make some changes in the proposal from the original presentation they gave to us. Can we get those changes before the meeting?
Any changes that they're proposing that you guys haven't seen before, I'll get them to you.
So if nobody objects, we'll just recess tonight's meeting until next Tuesday at 6. I have been made aware of the need for a closed session by our attorney, and I think this is to provide attorney-client privilege to discuss.
I don't have a particular need, but if any member of the board does.
Well, I apologize.
Yeah.
I know it's not manager. I'm sorry to put that on.
Oh,
We need to talk to you in closed session regarding attorney-client privilege. And it's also, I think, to discuss possible activities with real property. Is that fair to say? Sorry about that. I forgot to mention. Is there a motion to go into closed session? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? That motion passes. We will be back out in a moment. Knowing what that's about, I anticipate no action. It's an information session for the board. I would be surprised if we took action. We'd like to request as well as Lori Chester.